Hello friends and welcome to my channel for today's review video. Now, I don't typically do reviews on this channel. Usually I make stuff, but I am also a collector, and every now and then something kind of obscure comes out and not a lot of people get it. And so I like to do a review on it so that, you know, there's the information out there for people like myself who may want to look before they buy. So in this case, I bought Sight Unseen because I love this movie, Equilibrium, which is what these figures are based on. The generic, you know, don't sue us please name is Gun Missionary. It's from Bro Toys. Now, I don't really, this is my first Bro Toys thing, but I think they're probably, a lot of these third-party companies will have multiple names to kind of avoid getting in trouble, I think. So, you know, they might be part of like PC Toys or Pocket World Toys or whatever. But yeah, we're going to take a look at them. This is the 2-pack. I probably didn't need to get this, quite honestly, but when I saw this listed, like I said, I love this movie, and so I kind of geeked out and I was like, oh, I got to get both. And in retrospect, I think just getting the main one is probably what I should have done, but you know, now I have both and they'll be displayed probably on my shelf. So now I don't really want to spend a lot of time on packaging because, you know, it's whatever, it's packaging. Shows you what comes with them on the back. Now, actually, this one doesn't come with all this stuff. It comes with the hands and that's it. So the box is actually much lighter, but this one comes with the swords, the stand, you know, all the other stuff. So let's crack these open and take a look at them. Now, before we do that, kind of a fun thing. This is an old custom I made. This is one of the early customs that I did. It's got some kind of residue on it. Anyway, this thing's been in storage anyway. It's a NECA style Equilibrium figure. So I used the NECA Patrick Bateman head and I made a cast of it and then made multiples. And then, so I actually made 2 of these and gave one to a really good friend of mine. But, you know, this is like different pieces of, I think this is like a cape from like a Superman figure or something that I cut up. And this is like the coat from a NECA Blade Runner 2049 Ryan Gosling figure. And then I made this base, you know, these are just these little wood bases you get at the craft store, and I painted it to look like marble and the tetragrammaton symbol. So I'm probably going to use this for these figures, which I'm excited about. But yeah, let's get them out and take a look at them. So it comes in a double layer of clamshell packaging. So first impression is that is a pretty good head sculpt. You know, the eyebrows are a little maybe too neutral, maybe like a little bit surprised almost. I think at certain angles it's going to be fine, but as you can see on the box, there's more of a slightly furrowed brow, and this is more of like a, hey, what's going on? Now, if you're familiar with the Maniple head sculpt, I thought maybe this was going to be like a recast of that, but this does appear to be a unique head sculpt, so that's pretty cool. All in all, it's really nice. Like it's got really nice paint applications. I feel like they nailed the eye color because Christian Bale has kind of greenish eyes, and I think they got that pretty perfectly. So right off the bat, I think the outfit is really nice. Like there's some really nice tailoring on it. I wonder if it maybe should have been cinched a little bit more in the midsection here, but I think the way that it is will allow for him to have more posability. You know, this is a nice material. It's sort of a nylon type of material, it feels like. Yeah, there's some really nice stitching in there. Got the little buttons. I think those are a nice size. They seem pretty well proportioned. Stitching around the back here. Yeah, all in all, I think the tailoring is really nice. The pants are the same material. A little bit of tread on the bottom. And if you watch my channel, you know when I do a review, I like to do a sock check. No socks. That's a bummer. You know, these characters that get in dynamic poses wearing suit pants or slacks or whatever, I think they should always have socks on. But so I was messing around doing some poses, and the socks slid out from up under the pants. So that's my bad. The socks were in there. I just didn't look high enough up the leg, I guess. You know, I don't know that there's a way to really peek at what's going on under here. This is a separate flap that is sewn just by a couple threads here and up here, and then the coat is sewn shut. So but it feels like a pretty decent body underneath here, and this isn't just like the little import body. This feels like a more substantial body. So let's go over accessories. Now obviously he's got 2 fists that are already attached, 2 gun wielding hands. We've got 2 of these sword gripping hands. This one has a bit more of a wider grip. That's probably to like stabilize this rifle here. I don't know what this is for, if it's like a, you know, finger outside the trigger guard kind of hand, but I'm sure there's some cool applications for this. We've got his 2 pistols, and these are like almost look like a Beretta with like an extender thing on. I think this is probably a unique design for the movie. But what's cool is it comes with I've got 3 magazines here. I don't know if there's supposed to be 4. The box only shows 2 clips, so maybe I got an extra one. But it also has these that are removable. Now, if you recall in the film, he tosses these out and they're weighted, so they slide across the floor and then they bobble up like this. And he, goes through a bunch of people, ejects his clips, and then slams the guns down on these as they're right side up on the floor, which is such a cool scene in the movie. So the fact that it comes with these clips specifically is such a cool addition. And then we got this big old boy that I believe he used in the end sequence of the film. I don't know if this is based on a real weapon or, again, if this is like something, modified for the movie, but the magazine comes out. You've got some nice paint detail on the rounds in there, and then the stock folds. So very, very cool. It's a really, really great movie. It came out around the same time as The Matrix, and it was a pretty independent film. I don't know if a lot of people saw it, but it's kind of Fahrenheit 451 reimagined. So basically, they outlaw feeling in this world, and John Preston is a tetragrammaton cleric who's basically a guy who goes around and enforces that people not consume art or feel feelings, and they take these feeling suppressors every day by injecting something into their neck, I think it was. Again, it's been a minute since I've seen it, but I do really love the film. And so, spoiler alert, he kind of starts to feel. It's got a great cast. Christian Bale, Taye Diggs is in it. William Fichtner, who played the banker at the beginning of The Dark Knight, who tells Heath Ledger's Joker, "You don't know who you're stealing from." So yeah, really fantastic movie. All right, now looking at the bottom tray. So we've got our figure stand, and this other company, I think it was PC Toys, who did the Neo from The Matrix. They used a similar thing where you can put the accessories inside the figure stand. So that's super dope. I really love that. It's a nice way to have everything in one spot. Nice, clean, glossy finish. And then we've got our 2 katanas. In the film, they use katanas, and they have this thing they call gun kata. It's basically sort of a form of martial arts using their pistols. It's a pretty cool thing that I've not seen in any other movies. There is a kind of a Japanese influence in parts of this film, and so these are exemplary of that. These are nicely done. Yeah, they're pretty basic, but they're nice. They do have, however, a real cord tied around here. That's a beautiful detail. The only other time I've seen swords with these cords on them, we got hordes and scores of swords, they are molded in. So the fact that they have an actual little nylon cord around here is really, really cool. We've got this wood sparring sword. This is one that they use when they're training in the film. And him and Taye Diggs have this kind of contentious sparring match with one of these at the Tetragrammaton training area. And then I'm very excited about this because I've never had one of these in 1/12 scale. I have a real one because I have a couple swords because I was that kid. To have a 1/12 scale version of this is pretty rad. So that's super cool. I'm really, really excited about that. As far as accessories go, I think this figure is pretty great. If you've seen the film, these are all recognizable elements from it. A+ as far as I'm concerned. All right, let's talk articulation. So the head and neck are one piece. You have swivel all the way around, forward to there, up to there. Not a ton of tilt, about that much side to side. Got a hinge and swivel here, and I can't tell there's a butterfly joint in there, but it's got a big enough socket to where it will give you a lot of crossover. So you can actually have him do, a two-handed sword holding or aiming a weapon like that. So that's really great. Yeah, and the body doesn't look like it's sacrificing any size for the articulation, so I really like that about it. Yeah, you can feel the shoulder socket goes all the way into here, so quite a bit of movement there. We've got a ball joint at the torso, bend forward that much, bend backward that much, and he can go a little further, but it just won't hold it. I just peeked all the way, I pulled this all the way up, and there's a black shirt under here too. So, they've layered a lot on here, and it doesn't look too bulky. Legs come forward to about there. Backwards, not so much. That's about all we get backwards. That's interesting. That's not really what you would expect, and I don't think that's the pants hindering him. I think he's got a butt panel back here that's stopping it. Double jointed knees, get you all the way back here. And then the ankle's on a ball joint. Oh, and the elbows are double jointed as well. So he can hold some really nice poses. No real splits possible because the outfit hinders that, but this character doesn't do the splits in the film, so I don't think you have to worry about it. You know, one criticism I have as far as the articulation goes is I think that they should have sewn these up here and left this open. Reason being is it really does hinder the articulation. Now you can move it to this slit and kind of scrunch it up a bit, and that will give you some more movement, but the good move would have been to sew this up here and leave this open so that we could hit these poses a little better, because he does hit some dynamic poses in this film. Like the whole thing is like their ability to hit these different, you know, shooting poses while shooting one person here, one person behind them, spinning around, all kinds of stuff. So that's my one major criticism so far, I think. But all in all, it's a beautiful figure. Now I do want to take a minute to give the head sculpt a little bit more love here. I think it's really nice. Like, it's a really good likeness to Christian Bale. Again, I do wish that the eyebrows were a little lower, and I feel like maybe the forehead is a little bulbous looking. It might just be because of the way the hair is combed back. I don't know how well it comes up on camera, but they even got the little mole that he has right by his eye there. Really nice, subtle, lifelike paint apps on this. Subtle 5 o'clock shadow on there. So yeah, I think this is a really, really nice head sculpt. Now let's take a look at the white version. As you can see, this version does not come with all the accessories because the other one did. And this is the 2-pack. I think if you get just this one, it comes with the swords and the stand and the guns and all that stuff. And in fact, they put a sticker on it to be like, no, you don't get that. Now I've put a glove on to handle this one because I want to keep this beautiful white suit white. Some really nice tailoring on this as well. It's a similar material, but just in white. This is the outfit that he wears at the end of the film when he gets granted entry to see the dystopian fascistic government leader who keeps everyone from feeling stuff. Spoiler alert for the film, if you haven't seen it, he uses that opportunity to bring it down from the inside. And that is why he's got a bloody lip here, because, you know, he's kind of battle damaged. But that's a cool little touch, and it does differentiate this from the other head sculpt. There's some nice consistency between the two of them. As you can see, it's pretty identical. I think the eyebrows on this one are a little bit better. They're a little bit less surprised looking. This could be a deal breaker for a lot of people, this being a little bit too neutral of a head sculpt. Fortunately, I customize stuff, so repainting the eyebrows or adding a little downturn to them isn't the end of the world for me personally, but I can see how that would be very frustrating to other people. Same shoes on this, same hand offerings, just in white. And yeah, I mean, this thing looks really, really good. There is a little bit of padding under this one, so I don't know if they put on kind of what we would call a fat suit. That gives you an idea of what comes in the 2-pack. So we don't need to go over articulation on this one because it's the same body. All right, getting into size comparisons here. These can be a little tough for me sometimes because a lot of my figures are customized, and so I don't always have the same thing that everyone else does that I can compare it to, because mine have like changed a lot. But here he is next to another Christian Bale figure, the Mafex Dark Knight. And you can see he's about the same height as that one. On the right, we have the Felix Toys Ink Blot, aka Rorschach, which is more in the Mezco scale. And this guy, he does have a hat on, but I think even without the hat, he'd be a little bit taller. Here he is next to a Mezco John Wick, and then my custom BMS V-Toys Alex Ross Superman. This was the Kingdom Come version, obviously, and I just made some tweaks to it. But you can see he is a little bit shorter than a Mezco figure. So I would put this guy more in line with, like, if you have the PC Toys Men in Black or the PC Toys Neo, I think this guy is going to be about the same size as those. So you can put him in with your Mezco figures. I think he'll be a little short, but, you know, depending on the pose and the setup, I think he'll blend in just fine. And just for fun, here he is next to my old custom version. Yeah, I'm glad to finally have an updated one. You know, I thought about remaking this in a Mezco style over the years, and really glad to have a soft goods version of this guy now. So next up, let's get him in some cool poses and see what kind of stuff from the film he can recreate. All right, final thoughts on the Bro Toys Gun Missionary 2-pack. I like these figures overall. I think the bodies they use are really great. I think the tailoring is really nice, especially on the white suit. I think it could be a little tighter in the midsection on the black suit. I also noticed in looking at it some more that this comes up to a point and it doesn't actually do that in the film itself. I think the collar works better on the white one than it does on the black one as well. Like it's thicker and it sits how it should a little bit more. The head sculpt, it's much better painted on this one, as you can probably see. My issue with it, I actually looked at the solicit photos and the prototype head sculpt was much better. He had a much more furrowed brow, a more determined look. And here he just looks a little vacant, especially the one on the left. You know, that might just be my own personal copy. Hopefully the other ones that are out there are a little bit better as in that regard. I do wish that it was just a different facial expression, because he is pretty determined and, you know, set in a lot of the scenes in this movie, and he just looks kind of like a doofus here. So the other issue with the head for me was that I think that the head and neck should be two separate pieces on a figure like this. When you have a character that is very dynamic in their movements and their posing, you want to be able to do that in figure form. And I think you can do, you know, 95% of it, but because it's one piece with the head and neck, it just stiffens him up a lot. There's not a lot you can get in terms of naturalistic poses. And especially that coupled with the sort of blank stare that he has, it does make it hard to get it in the kind of poses you want and have it look good. I think this is much more of a vanilla pose type of figure. I would like to have this one doing more dynamic stuff, but it just looks a little silly when he's kind of just, you know, a blank face. So I mean, again, I love this movie. It's a favorite of mine, and so to have a representation on the shelf of it like this, I'm pretty happy with that. Great accessories, great bodies, really nice tailoring. All in all, this is a win. Definitely some areas to be improved upon, but you know, when you're dealing with third-party unlicensed stuff, you don't always expect the moon, right? Because it doesn't go through license or approval, and I think sometimes that's where the quality is really shown. But I'm excited to see what Bro Toys puts out in the future. I think that this is a nice set. Despite a few hangups I have on it, I think it's really good, and I'm glad I got them. And I am glad I got the 2-pack too. I was kind of like, did I need both? But seeing them next to each other on this display base, like I'm happy that I have both. So now for context, here's the aforementioned maniple head sculpt of Christian Bale. It would be kind of fun to see if this fits on there. You know, it's probably a little bit too small. It might actually be perfect, but the hair is not accurate to equilibrium, so that's the drawback. But yeah, a facial expression more like that I think would have been good. If you like this kind of stuff, this is what I typically do on the channel. This is some of the stuff I've made on the channel. So I invite you to click subscribe and join me as I make cool stuff. I made this Ghostbusters Firehouse diorama on the channel. I reviewed this PC Toys Neo. My most recent video is this 89 Batcave diorama. That is a McFarlane Batmobile that I customized on the channel as well. If you're into that kind of stuff, click subscribe. Join me as I make cool stuff. If you hit the like button, of course, that helps people find the channel. So thank you very much for watching, and until next time, keep your head on swivel.